It's Group 1 time at Caulfield, Blue Diamond Day, Oakley Plate, and the futurity to round out the three Group 1s at Caulfield. G'day, Aaron. How you feel about this card?
Love it. It's one of the best cards of the year, this one.
And Gord, are you suitably excited, or is it presenting a challenge?
No. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, some lightly raced horses here that have trialled awesome and look to have superior ability and some cracking sort of proven, top quality horses. So it's an exciting card. But I mean, I get less excited about fantastic horses than I do just about finding winners. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah. Well,
priority.
that's the idea. That's the idea. No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, like taking positions if they're capable of taking positions, that's good. So, Aaron, I can only find two instances in the last 10 years that the rail's been out 4 metres at Caulfield, and
Mm.
that's back in 2017 and 2021. Um, they have chucked a pile of water onto this track. I presume you've got a hot northerly there today.
Yeah.
How's it all going to pan out?
Yeah, I chose to use a 5 meter rail we had recently as context, and that's obviously since it's been resurfaced as well. So that was my reference point. It's
Wasn't
got
that was the deteriorating day, wasn't it? The day it was raining,
a
2nd of
little
December.
bit, yeah, and the inside was the spot to be. It's got a little bit of weather overnight, not much that's going to super affect the track, but you might find that there's a particular lane. I've got a gut feel the inside might be the superior spot to be, but there's pretty significant winds. It's going to blow across, particularly in the latter part of the card. It's about sort of 20 odd Ks, but there's some gusts that might pick up sort of 40 plus, and that's really going to affect those ones that might get the right lane on the inside there from the chute start blowing across. So it's going to be very interesting to monitor track pattern and potential bias on the day.
Right, well, it's a fairly soft start. We've got a 2,000 metre open. Dunkell is $3.30. Glentanius soft break is $3.50. Flash filling 5, Man K and 5.50. And I had the jumper leading here, Will John, but Flash filling and Man K have got a little bit of speed. Who wants to do what here?
Yeah, I'd expect Will John does the lead, but there's no real tempo in this race, and it might potentially bring a couple of them undone. I was a bit surprised to see Glentanius go up this short coming back to the 2000 when it does look to be a bit of lack of tempo in the race. I was with Dunkell clearly on top. I thought it was one of the better bets on the card. Actually, it's third up. It looks like it might peak, and the slow tempo on the race doesn't bother me at all because they absolutely crawled their last start. I think they might have went about 17 lengths below class standard to the 600, and it did the fastest last 400 of the meeting, and it was held up until about the 200 meter mark. So, a few people took a set against it late, and I think that was largely due to the big weight and potential issues with the map. But once it got out, it was really explosive. And given that there is a slow tempo in the race and there's a few genuine stays here, I think it might be able to expose them quite comfortably. There was one at a price, I think it's about $26, and you're probably going to get closer to 50s on Betfair on Saturday, I'd assume. That's Mohamed Dias. Maybe I'd suggest to cover it at a massive price. Maybe not today. Fourth up over 2400 might be its go, but the beaten margins don't suggest how well this horse is actually going. They were really slow tempos, both first up and second up there, and it's finished off really well and against a couple of potentially dour types. It's got a turn of foot for one that's going to get over further and likely COVID jumps. But yeah, I was one clearly on top here.
Gord, you've had a lot of time for Dunkell in the past. What are you doing with it here?
Yeah, I just when you go over its form, it's just amazing, isn't it? Like 10 starts, 7 wins, 2 seconds, and the only time it underperformed, it was lame. So this
Yeah.
is a dead set, consistent winning machine. I'm hoping for a bit of resistance because of the 61.5. Whether I see that or not, I'm not sure. But look, I think this is a good horse, and obviously when you get over 2,000 meters, Paddy Payne is just lethal. So it's on top for me. Saying that, I'm not as excited as Aaron. I can't make it a best of the day because Glentanius is flying. I couldn't get rid of Asheron either. Just like,
Yeah.
when you come fourth in the Melbourne Cup, that's not too bad a form coming into a race like this where the others aren't to that level. Saying that, when you have a look into at its runs in Australia, it has needed to get over the 25 or 2,400 meters to perform at its best. But I did notice that earlier on in its career overseas. It's had a couple of victories over the 22. So, you know, I was 1 from 2. 5 is a scary proposition. 6, I think we made a black booker, didn't we, Aaron, or something, I think. So, yeah. So my thing is kind of got to bet in the race, kind of got to back number 1 just because there's question marks about the others, and I think Flash Feeling's taking up too much percentage.
I sort of thought Glentanius might be a tick over run for something further here, and Ash Run jumped out really well, but I felt the same. It might just be a tick over run for something further.
Of course. But I mean, you know, it's where you line up. It's got the absolute A triple plus, you know, obviously running in the Melbourne Cup, and then is that enough to overcome the fact that you're not completely primed? Well, we'll see. But I mean, yeah, 1 from 2 for me.
Race 2, 1100 benchmark 84. So this is the cheap Oakley plate. Midtown Boss went around odds on this course distance class last start. He's now at $3.20 this time. Hanchy at 6, which is an interesting Perth visitor. Kin 7.50, Mrs. Icelandic 8.50. Von Hawk heads the others at $10. And a few leaders here, but none of them outright leaders. They sort of all like to get up on the speed. That's Pink Bow Tie, Miss Icelandic, Baldino, possibly Brett, and Foxycon and Twin Perfection from the outside 2 gates. So line these up for us, Aaron. How do they form up here?
Yeah, I thought Baldino was likely to go and sit OSL, and it's one at a price that I'm definitely going to cover. It's going to have some pretty handy residual fitness coming through that run. Well, the previous runs, you know, last went around 6 weeks ago, but he was absolutely airborne before that run at Geelong, and there's a bit of a sticky track there. As much as it was sort of a little bit on speed and inside, this horse went out far too quick for, I think it was its first go at 1400. Coming back to the 1100 when it looks reasonably tough and it likes Caulfield, I think it's one that you can cover. Midtown Boss, I am going to go again on it. I think I'm going to get a better price on the day. Thought it was actually a pretty good run. I know it was beaten odds on, but lane 1 was just the spot to be. That's where Ray Magnerio was. It didn't get anywhere near that. I can't look past that first up run. Like it was just went like a rocket there. It ran exceptional time. I think it maps reasonably well as much as it's 1100. Like it's a shoot start, and then just looking at the map, I think it might get an okay sort of run into it. Won't have to do too much work. And
so what are you thinking? Running line like 3 wide with cover just off the speed or something?
Yeah, and if there happens to be some wind, I think that's really going to be an advantageous spot to be. And then the other one, obviously, if you're going to back Midtown Boss, I think you're going to have something on Kin at around $7. It was a massive run. It's got this habit of just flashing and running on, but when you consider the bias on the day and how advantageous lane 1 was, it was further from that lane and actually made really good ground. The only little knock I'd have on it was they did go reasonably quick in front there with Jungle Jim going a few lengths above class, so was sort of entitled to finish off, I thought.
Good. You were a Midtown Boss man a few weeks ago. What are you saying about it here?
Yeah, there's no way I can back Midtown Boss in this race because Kin's run was just far superior than Midtown Boss's. That run of Kin's, Jesus, it should have won the race, man. Like, oh God, like being in the wrong part of the track, then traffic, then checking off heels, then forced to go back on the inside, which I admit was a better part of the track, but you just can't get your momentum up when you're doing stuff like that. It was a far superior run to Midtown Boss's. So, man, and Kin's the kind of horse where you need a little bit of a price about, and I'm going to get it on this occasion. It's best available right now is $7.60. That is a super easy bet for a horse whose run last start was far superior than the favourites. And on top of that, it's a blue colours horse that has proven that it is there's no problems. We don't need to find it early preparation. Saying that, I'm looking at a horse for 18 starts for 2 wins. So it's not, you know, normally my style, but just watch the video of that last start and you just got to be on it in this price range. Saying that, going to have a really good result on this Swiss Exile up the top here too. This horse was going to do some pretty good stuff and has been slightly disappointed. But if you look at some of the lines there with them, there's some Giga Kick lines, there's some Lady Laguna lines, which are looking pretty good right now, Yellow Brick, stuff like that. And it was just sort of like slightly disappointed as far as the hype on the horse was concerned. So my thing is, when I have a horse like that and they get the ultimate gear change, which it's just been gelded, that can be the trick to turn a horse that's promised more than it's delivered so far into a winner. I think the booking of Zara is quite interesting. So yeah, I'm really keen on this race. So I'm 13 from 2.
And Aaron, Aaron Orgord, comment on this WA horse that is sitting there second pick in the betting.
No, you good. Oh, I think it's come up really short. Like it's obviously a winner and it's done reasonable stuff. But when I've gone back through some of the lines and some of the winners out of those races, I don't think they're going to match up in a race like this.
I
All right,
definitely don't think it will. It's you've got to come from the absolute top grade stuff in WA to be competitive in a race like this. So it doesn't have it. Saying that, you know,
Placid Arc is a very good race in WA, but again, the lines from the following two starts I thought were pretty fair.
well, they're only $80,000 races. And I'm against Miss Icelandic because it got absolute PR against weak opposition to win last start. So the fact that it's under its single finger odds, I think, is ridiculous.
It is an acceptor for Morphettville, so I guess you're praying for it to stay here to keep your
percentages. Yep.
Race 3, 1400 metres, Group 2 for fillies. And Automagel resumes here. She's $3.20. Sarah Sana off winning the Sandown Guineas is $6. Pure Paradise 7. Sassy Boom 8. So Glamorous 8.50. I had 2 leaders here, Sparkling and Sassy Boom, which if Sarah Sana follows Sassy Boom across, she may be able to get 1-1. What are you saying about the map, Aaron?
It's exactly where I got Sarah Sana mapping, and I'd actually marked it favourite in front of Autumn Angel for a couple of reasons. Like we've mentioned it plenty of times in the review. I'm sure we mentioned it in the preview that since his partnership, Moody Coleman, there's not as much intent early. They're not fully wound up and ready to go. And this feels to me like a third, fourth up 2,000 metre horse. Like it's clearly one of the class runners of the race, and there's only 2 of them to really look at. But I thought Sarah Sana, it went out on a massive number, broke the field up. That was a Sandown Guineas, but it was at Caulfield. And then you sort of look at the difference between the two, and if I've got slight reservations about Moody winding them up first up, well, Autumn Angel's coming off a lot longer spell, whereas Sarah Sana only went out in December, so it's got some pretty handy residual fitness, and thought the jump out the other day was really good. And there's really, for me, there's only 2 horses to look at. So if I've got some knocks about Autumn Angel, I'm pretty keen to play Sarah Sana. I think it's about $6.
What's your position on the race, Gordon?
Yeah, I'm kind of forced to bet here. I don't get everything I like because there's 2 key negatives about the horse that I like, which is Autumn Angel, and that is Moody early preparation. There's a slight question mark there, as Aaron mentioned, and obviously map. When I'm betting into this price range are 2 sort of like things you've got to be a little bit cautious about. Just saying that, I just think this is such a weak race. I know Sarah Sana has that win and it's got some class form, but I'm marking John Allen down at the moment in my ratings as well. I've not been happy with what I've seen from him. So that sort of gave me the ability to be a little bit more against the one than I normally would be. Autumn Angel has that cracking win first up last preparation where it absolutely owned them. It's had the jump outs, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of intent shown, Aaron. So what you're indicating there is about when it's going to be ready. But then you just look at the opposition, and it's just
Rubbish.
this is the lightly raced one. It's got some great preparation last prep, and it could just be too good for them. So yeah, 2 for me, Autumn Angel.
Race 4, 1,200 metres for 3-year-olds, and Brave Mead has been reserved for this, $3.50. Don Corleone 6, Mahaba 7.50, Pivot City 8.50, and Ray Koki at 9. There's a fairly dense market outside the favourite. He is drawn the outside now, but 3 leaders underneath him: Hello World, Legacies, and Raikoki. So I guess we're not expecting him to try and make all again, Aaron.
No, but if it can do something fairly similar where it breaks the hearts from the 8 to 4, it might just be a good thing. Always had time for this horse last prep, let me down on a couple of occasions, but it just resumed like a different horse there the other day. That was unbelievable what it did, and plenty of people saw the King Colorado run and it's franked the line, but I still feel Brave Mead was a far superior run there. and it seems to go better at Caulfield as well. No issues for me coming out of 11. As mentioned, potentially some wind there that might pick up. It's going to get some cover. I was pretty keen on Brave Mead, but I'll make sure that there's a couple at reasonable prices that I won't lose on. One of them's the 6 Wolfie, which we've always had a bit of time for. I think this horse might have some ability. It ran really well there, first up on debut. It didn't get a lot of luck. Splinker's first time, and I thought the jump out the other day, I forget who it was against off the top of my head, but they were pretty handy horses and it was going just as well as them. So it's one that you can cover at a reasonable price. And then the other one I thought went up probably the wrong price was She Light, just about $11. The track stats they're a bit deceptive. It's gone around at Caulfield. It was first up here last prep, got beat length behind Cylinder, did things wrong in the run. Next run it went around against V8, got beat a couple, and then it goes around against the Party, beating the Lip. So there's some pretty good lines to be bringing in, and it's about $11. But yeah, I was one clearly on top, but I'm going to make sure I still win on those other two.
Gord, Brave Mead, he was fairly brutal first up.
Yeah, just never been able to quite get a handle on this horse. I still don't think it's top grade, but not that anything in this race is proven top grade yet. Look, that was a really dominant win last start, but I just want to go. If you're talking about the best form coming into this, and I know, guys, it's only a barrier trial, but it is Don Corleone, trialled against Think About It and King's Gambit. Think About It and King's Gambit trialled better than it by the time they hit the line. Have a look past the post. This horse isn't giving up the ghost. It's just super powerful and wants to keep on running. Booking of Zara. I'm really interested in inside draws on the program. If you notice, I'm tipping a lot of things that are drawn one or drawn to the inside. I think this might have just come back absolutely awesome. And if that's the case, I get $6 to find out. And I don't think these others, they're really good horses, but I don't think they're top grade. And maybe this one has come back in that condition. So, yeah, number 3, Don Corleone on top. By the way, I couldn't get rid of Mahaba either, but,
Yeah.
you know, there's plenty of chances in the race. But, you know, for comfy betting, $6 on a horse like this, I'm just really comfortable.
We should be looking at this hard at this race for future reference, Aaron.
Yeah, it's typically a pretty strong form race going forward. Yeah, and it's funny, we're going to go and talk about it now, but normally the next race, the Autumn Classic, is a form race I really look for, and it's held up well in the past, but this is the weakest Group 2 you've ever seen.
Well, it can happen because we're talking about emerging stayers, and anyone that's looking at the form will see that they are very much emerging. Immediacy $4.80, United Kingdom $5, Sox Nation $5.50, Caracas at $6. And I just found Alcuva to hold the lead from gate 1 and 3 other bits of speedo in the second half of the wider half. Sox Nation, Just a Boom, and Time to Chat. So what does happen here, Aaron?
I found this a slightly difficult race to map with what they do with United Kingdom. Obviously flopped out the back there on debut at 1500 at Geelong, hole 30, wins by half a length, but there's a fair bit of merit in that win. Like, not many horses. I think there was only one from memory that actually made ground, and it just looped him down the outside. And on style and its stride action, it looks like one that's crying out for probably further, probably wants 2000 and maybe even beyond that. The reason why I had difficulty mapping it, though, was what they did with the jump out the other day. It just jumped fair, but then they took off and went to the front, and the horse just seemed to travel really well. And I think Gold Trip was the one that ran second to it in that jump out, and it seemed to be traveling just as well as on the line. So I'd actually black booked it off that jump out, not the debut win, and I was expecting to get a much better price coming off a Geelong Maiden winning by half a length. But then you go and look at the rest of the field, and immediacy is another one that you look at, but it's coming off a 64. They're all coming off maidens or 64s, and I had knocks about immediacy, just given what it did, particularly that's the hillside track at Sandown. It was scrubbed up and it took a really long time to get balanced. Once it did, it finished off really well, but at Caulfield, it's not going to have the same opportunities to get balanced that far out, and it might be one that wants further already. So I was United Kingdom on top. I was expecting a better price. Maybe we do on the day, but again, it's a very shallow race, so maybe we won't.
Right, so 1,800 metres, Melbourne, well, Victorian provincial form. How are you feeling about this one, Gord?
This is by bet of the day. This is a living, breathing, moral, can't lose, number 8, United Kingdom. That was a lovely win at Geelong there. And then Price had trialled like a 5 lengths better horse than Gold Trip. Man,
Yeah.
Gold Trip was pushed out trying to get it. This thing under soft riding, watch its action, the way it covers the ground. There's no problems with 1,800 metres. I don't care where this thing maps. We get D Lane on it, the go-to jockey. It's up against horses that I don't think have a lot of ability. And I think, I don't know, I don't bet into futures or anything like that, but I'm suggesting this thing will win all the elite distance Group 1 races that it enters coming into the autumn. This is a serious horse.
Hello.
Okay, well, there were obviously big raps on it, prior to debuting, Aaron. It did run around at a prohibitive price.
Yeah, you couldn't possibly back it when it got that short, but I think it actually opened at an okay price and it just got, plunged. There's a proper opinion and they've chucked D Lane on straight away.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to checking him out, United Kingdom. The Peter Young, over 1,800 metres is the prelude to the 3 Group 1s. And Gold Trip, the aforementioned horse, resumes here off the Melbourne Cup, $2.50. Campionessa, who hasn't been seen in Victoria for 12 months, is $3.30. Zenzella off a Magic Millions trip is $7.50. Foxy Cleopatra, $10. And help here. It's unusual culture to lead from Loft. How does that sound?
Just bringing my map back up. I'm super keen to take on Gold Trip. I had Loft, Vow Declare, Unusual Culture, maybe even Zenzella, Campionessa punching up, holding positions, but it's not a stack of tempo in the race. Really keen to take on Gold Trip here. It's never won first up. It's obviously gone around in the elite stuff. It has only won 3 races. And then what Gorgeous referenced with the jump out against United Kingdom, that's coming off a Geelong maiden, and it jumped out just as well as it, I thought, United Kingdom. So, I was happy to take it on, especially where I think it's likely to map and lack of tempo. And the other thing that I was sort of thinking is there tends to be 2 Gold Trips. There's a spring Gold Trip and there's an autumn Gold Trip. I know it's had feed issues, but what it does in the spring versus the autumn doesn't seem to really match up. So I was pretty happy to take this one on and back a few in this race. I thought Campionessa, I was expecting a slightly better price, but I think it's still a bet. It had a run here in the Australian Cup when it was about $8 and only got beat a couple. And the Blue Colours horse Cascadian, he just went like a rocket that day. I thought it was super. And last start, it got beat half a length behind the Gardo. That form line's holding up pretty well, and it's also clearly got race fitness on its side and map advantages over Gold Trip. And I thought there was 2 that you could cover. Zenzella, which is dropping back from the 2200, which I think was probably a stretch too far for it. In saying that, it was a massive run there up north last start when she got stuck wide, had to take off mid-race, and it did a mountain of work. So the time between runs and the barrier trial and D Lane going on was another tick for me. And then Foxy Cleopatra, which I took on a bit first up, and I think I probably just got it wrong. It went like an absolute cannon from back in a tempo where it wasn't suited. Yonsei got away with absolute murder in front, and you're getting a slight rise in trip. Blinker's first time shin on from a gate where it should map, within a contact point there. So I was pretty happy to play those 3 and be really against Gold Trip.
Well, it's an interesting runner. Gord, 12 months ago, he resumed in this race, and that was his best run of the autumn. But he was resuming off the winning the Cup.
Yeah, it was a cracking run. So that's why I'm going to play in this race, but it's a low confidence race for me. I don't like betting against horses like Gold Trip. But I agree with Aaron. I just can't take 270 on. I got, maybe map speed config not looking right. It's going to be map negative. Got absolutely owned in that jump out. Definitely not grand final. I mean, there's a lot of negatives there. Saying that, I don't want to be aggressively against it because it's just a bloody good horse. It's getting quite old now, and maybe that jump out is an indication. 7-year-old horse. Maybe it's getting pretty old. Look, the 2 I looked at was the New Zealand horse Campionessa. That bless your little cotton socks, but Legato is a really good horse. There's nothing wrong with a small margin to it. It's a proven winner. And it's out of 1, which I'm giving a tick for on the program. And the other one was of interest for me, which I'll probably have my best result on, because I don't want to do too much here, so I'm happy to back something at around $10, and it is Foxy Cleopatra. It's a lightly raced one that might be, improving, and I thought that was a cracking return to racing. Glorified barrier trial, still rattled home. It'll do nothing from the 2 with Shinny on, and it's got a little bit of fitness edge on some of those up the top that this definitely isn't their grand final. So yeah, I was interested in 7 Campionessa and 10 Foxy Cleopatra, but I'm scared of Gold Trip, so yeah, low confidence race.
Right. Well, you've heard us reference a number of first up or fresh horses already. We've done the front half of the card, or we've done the first 6, but it's fairly clear that the mounting yard is going to play a crucial role on Saturday. And then we've got 2-year-olds in a grand final. So it'll be interesting to see how those horses shape up in terms of how they handle the stage of their preparation that they're at. So if you want the mounting yard, you subscribe to the Melbourne Pro. If you want prices, subscribe to the Melbourne Pro. If you want suggested bets with suggested units, you subscribe to the Melbourne Pro. And that just click the little eye in the top right-hand corner. It'll take you to the subscription page. And if you are a RacingRant member, silver or gold, you will get a discount. So that'll automatically be applied if you've got a membership. So make sure you're a member, and you get the cheapest. You get the cheapest version of the Melbourne Pro Punter service. It's a big meeting for mounting yard, isn't it, Aaron?
Oh, especially when the amount of horses that are first up, and we're going to touch on a couple in a sec, where if they've taken the improvement I expect them to take in the Oakley Plate and the Blue Diamond, yeah, they could be really big bets.
It's it's so important to get this information from Saturday, guys. Like, this is just the perfect card for it. Not only is it a cracking day and you're all going to be betting and turn over money, spend a couple of dollars, get some pro information, get the late minute yard stuff. It is so important on Saturday. I've actually subscribed for this weekend for the first time. So there you go.
All right. I'll look forward to seeing that turn up in my inbox. Race 7 is the Futurity, and Mr. Brightside is $1.50. Attrition's $9, Nugget 10, and Pericles 12. The leader, Buffalo River, is $16, or the lure. So Buffalo River to come across and lead and run along, I presume. That's his only hope in life. Pericles and Nugget from 1 and 2 should be handy. So does the favourite settle fourth here, or does he sort of would he be ridden more aggressively than that?
I think they've got to settle in the first 4, I think, staying at the 1400, and especially given what happened last start, I don't think you can expect it to be as brilliant as what it was first up again. A little bit similar to how Gord's approached a couple of the previous ones where you don't really want to bet against a champ. I can't touch it at $1.50, just given staying at the 1400 and the question marks over how much it's taken out of it from that first up run. But it's saying that it presented exactly like it presented first up last start. And
so, reference what was the run this time like compared to the run first up? Because I mean, it's a very similar setup in the sense that it's staying at 1400 second up.
They just went out a lot harder, and it had to do a lot more work, and it had to use all its brilliance to get there. And there's just a slight chance that it might be flat. In saying that, I don't want to tip against it, but I just will watch this race most likely, or I might potentially have a small place bet on 1 of 3 Nugget, which jumped out sensational and is a better horse than what it did there last prep. Attrition, which I don't think is going to be fully wound up, but if it's more forward than I expect, it's a pretty good horse. And the other one obviously is Buffalo River, which is just a 1400 meter Caulfield specialist, and that wasn't a fluke run there last start as much as a $61 SP. It's done some massive figures when it's got to not dictate, but be up there as part of the controlling speed of the race at 1400 at Caulfield. So it's an 8-horse field. It's paying 3 dividends, so might have a place bet, but I can't bet against it.
Weird situation when you're saying horses aren't wound up for Group 1s, isn't it? But
It is, yeah.
there you go. There you have it, Gord, Mr. Brightside.
Live and breathe and moral. Can't lose. People are going to see the small margin to Buffalo River. That doesn't mean shit. I mean, this horse up was first up, did some beautiful stuff late, but Buffalo River had the fitness edge on it. Hopefully that creates some resistance. Hopefully some of those reasons that Aaron brought up create some resistance, because I do not care. I think the map looks absolutely perfect for this horse. It's got it's either OSL or one out, one back, and they're just not going to be able to do the late stuff to stick with this horse. It's immoral.
It's funny when you said Buffalo River and a small margin, I immediately thought of Red Excitement and Winks.
Red Excitement, yeah. I know, yeah. Well, I mean, look at some of the horses that think about it, Mark. It is. I'm saying the right one there. The small margins to be great horses, yeah.
Right. We come to the Blue Diamond, which is an exciting prospect anyway. Coleman, $4. Lady of Camelot, $5. Bodyguard, 6. High Octane, $8.50. And these are heads the others at 13. And, well, Lady of Camelot will be pedal to the metal here to hold the lead. Stay Focused and Spirewire from the deep have pace to be capable of being used. I'm not sure what the tactics will be. And underneath Lady of Camelot, I've got Kuro Yanagi to sort of hold the box seat, perhaps. Coleman's got tactical speed, well, enough tactical speed to try and look for a forward position. And then Flyer and Ruder Royal have a little bit of speed wider out. How do they form up here, Aaron?
Yeah, I think they're going to go pretty quick. I do have Lady of Camelot going to the front. I thought Stay Focused was one from a wide gate that would come across. This is obviously a target race, and it seems to be really tough late off a genuine speed. So I'd expect they try and utilise that horse's strength and go forward on it. Really happy to bet into this race and back the two that I've liked for a while, particularly Bodyguard. But Coleman was a bit of a boy developed into a man in the yard there last prep. Like, we were keen on, well, I was keen on Anisa when we did the preview, and then when I saw it step out, it's just put on unbelievable strength. It was super forward. It looked like a different horse, and it just blew him away. First up there, and I thought the times were really good, and it made Anisa look second rate, which it's just not. And then the other one, obviously, is Bodyguard, which, again, it looked like a bloody 3-year-old when it stepped out at Flemington there. It was super easy to find from the yard, but the resistance last start was clearly going to be going up to 1100 first up when you had other horses in the race that had race fitness on its side, and it did all the work there out 3 wide. No, High Octane was unlucky getting held up, but when the High Octane got out, didn't exactly power to the line. And I thought what Bodyguard did there first up, especially considering it wasn't super screwed down, and this is clearly its grand final. Yeah, I thought they were really easy bets, and they both map to get nice sort of sucked into the race.
Yeah, High Octane gate 1 to gate 15, sorry, 10, B Shin, but I'm looking the first start thinking maybe there's not much guts to that, to those previews.
No, it was so raw that day as well.
Good. How are you playing this?
Yet another one. I'm just so excited about this card. If I get the map that I'm hoping for, this is a moral, and it's number 4 Coleman. And I love the fact that its 2 wins are over 1,000 meters, and there's going to be resistance because it goes to a new, completely new distance, because 1,200 meters is nowhere even near the same as a 1,000-meter race. I know it's only 200 meter, guys, but if you have a look at the figures, that's the way it works. And I know that Mark's very keen and uses that sort of little bit of information successfully. I'm suggesting this could be absolute Goldilocks zone. The only thing is I want it to cross Anisa and an Anisa to be on its back. And if I get that, then that's just beautiful for me. If Anisa punters up, maybe this thing could get posted. I don't think so. I think maybe you could just go back a little bit further and still get running line. This is a machine, this horse. This is absolutely sensational. There'll be no problems with the 1,200 meters. It's going to be crackerjack pace on with a horse like this sitting in Goldilocks zone. There's only one thing you got to get over, and that is on a crackerjack pace over 1,200 meters. Will it be as dominant as it has been over the 1,000? That's all you need to get over. Saying that, taking $4 or $5 to find out with only one question mark is a happy spot for me. Clearly on top. a damn bloody Melbourne horse.
Well,
eh?
it was
I must have gone mad.
hard not to be impressed, wasn't it? I mean, that was the meeting you referenced 3 weeks ago, where the inside was hot to trot,
Yeah,
and there was Bishin on the horse whose name just escapes me, but he was just trucking along in the lead on the inside, and let down, and this horse just went smashed it.
Yeah, counteroffensive was its name.
Yeah.
So, oh look, this could be Redoubt's choice, on the back of Testarossa.
Yeah. Oh, Mark, if you're keen on this with 2,000-meter runs, then I'm going to have to shorten it even more.
I'm not thinking too hard about the race, because obviously I'm not doing the form solidly for this race. But it was pretty earth-shatteringly explosive.
Yeah, it
was. All right, so that's the Blue Diamond, which is a fascinating favourite there. And then we come to the Oakley Plate, where they just line up. Well, firstly, they line up in terms of, for the market, King's Gambit resuming $4.80, Asfura $6.50, Benedetto $9, Shripper $9, Rain Magneria heads the others at $11. And well, who wants it? I've got recommendation, Brudenell, Najim Sahale. Hypothetical went very quickly the other day, and then Asfura's drawn on the outside of those four, and to keep them bobbing early is Keyman, Mornington Glory, and Shripper's looking for running line somewhere just off the speed, I presume. So, Aaron, this looks like a typical Oakley Plate.
Yeah, handlebars down, plenty want to go to the front. For me, it's very tricky to find exactly who leads, but it's only really important if you're super keen to back one of them, and I'm not. I thought Naheem Sahale and Hypothetical, there's a chance that those two would pair off and find the front, but there's plenty of others that have joined inside that could sort of go on with it. King's Gambit, gee, I thought it might get a sticky map here for one. There's a lot that want to go forward. I thought there was a chance that it would be buried. And the other thing as well, this horse is a bit of a nutcase in the yard, and it's thrown races away in the past. So I was getting enough crosses to sort of bet against it, bet into the race. Best result at early prices for me is going to be Gripper, which, when you've got this amount of speed in a race, you potentially want to have creds over 1,200. And what it did there last start was phenomenal. They went, reasonable time, but it was just had this unbelievable cruising speed. It could have won by more. It's just been a different horse this prep, and it's clearly shown when there is speed in the race that it can finish off quite hard. So, as we referenced earlier, there's a chance that the wind picks right up at the back half of the meeting here, so it's going to get a lot of cover from that wind, given where it's drawn, and it's a shoot start, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem in terms of being potentially stuck wide. The other one I have to cover it as for I'm going to slightly forgive it. They're first up. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have gone aggressively as I did. Just obviously I was looking at the first up, the track distance, the form lines, but this was a different campaign. This was clearly the target race. I mean, it loomed up to him at 200. Any other race, it just would have put him to bed, but it just sort of peaked on its run, and the map seems to work. And I'm not marking it down for being beaten by Callis, because there was plenty of mail around that Callis was absolutely flying. So they're the two I've looked at.
What's floating your boat here, Gordon?
Yeah. Best horse in the race is the one I go looking for. Saying that, I mean, Aaron's absolutely right. King's Gambit out of the one could find a really sticky map. I mean, it could be behind a whole lot of traffic. Saying that, with luck, it'll win the race. I've always thought this is a serious horse, and as Aaron mentioned, it's a head case. But Jesus, off that trial and a little bit of stuff I've heard, they might have found the trick to this horse. And I thought the fact that the synthetic hoof filler is off for the first time, and that might have been, foot problems can really annoy horses. And if they've got that right, and the trial indicated to me that it is, then all it needs is luck from one, and it'll ship this in. It could be the best horse with 50 kgs on its back. Like, seriously. For me, what I'd do if I was advising Carr, which obviously I doubt she'd ever employ me to give her advice, since all I do is...
she'll probably take wedding advice from you, Gord.
Yes. I'd be super aggressive, man. Why not, when you've only got 50 kgs on your back? Really sort of bustle it out from the one. Saying that, I thought if there was massive problems with I can see the front group knocking up. I wanted a run on wide draw horse to cover as well. And for me, that's number one, Kalos, who it couldn't have been any more dominant. Shinny will just have it 3 wide with a bit of cover if they go mad and it peels and do what it did over course and distance last start. What a great chance it is around $13. So, yeah, I'm 15 King's Gambit from 1 Kalos.
Right, race 10 is the mares, and Revolutionary Miss, who seems to like Melbourne, is $4.20. Eternal Flame $4.20, Vagrant $6.50, Running by $8.50, Forbidden City $9, and there's 3 others just into double figures there. The speed is, well, there's sort of 6 that like to race handy, and they're drawn 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. That's Forbidden City, Party for 1, Scratch from Sydney, Running By, which I've got mapped quite closely, so perhaps that's not quite correct. Road to Arataki, Revolutionary Miss, and Versilia. So no outright leaders. Well, who's going to take it up here, Aaron?
I'd expect Road to Arataki does lead. It managed to pinch a similar-ish race, might have been 6 months ago, when it just managed to lob to the front. There was no pressure in the race, and it just sort of held on against a similar-ish sort of a field. It was a low confidence race, and it'll be one for me on the day where I'm betting from track pattern and yard more than anything. But I'm very likely to bet into the race because Revolutionary Miss, I thought, has come up a very short price when it got PR there last start, and just only sort of hung on there half a length. And Eternal Flame, obviously everyone saw that. It probably clearly should have won the race, and it went up a longer price than Revolutionary Miss. And then Vagrant was the other one for me, where sort of all the reasons that we referenced last start when it got scratched on the quick backup, coming back to the 1400 off that super dominant win, which was lane 1. But just what it did there the last 50 metres, yeah, I think this horse is flying, and you've been able to bet reasonably comfortably through its form lines recently, but it is coming out of gate 1, so I just want to see how the pattern of the day is.
Good. How are you playing the nightcap?
I'm not doing it. I haven't done it, and I'm not going to do it, because if I do it, I think I could create I could create this narrative that made me bet into a race I don't really want to bet into. Just mark for your reference point there, clockwise 10 starts for 2 seconds and a third, so maiden clockwise, anti-clockwise 12 for 5-3. So yeah, it doesn't mind anti-clockwise racing. I think you've got to be really careful. This is why I really don't want to do the race. People give too much weight to the unlucky runner, not the winner. You know what I mean? And Revolutionary Miss did win, but Eternal Flame was unlucky, and that just puts me in this situation where I don't want to make that decision.
No, that's a good. In fact, you've probably offered some great advice there anyway, which is, like, assess the race and say, well, look, don't do the race if you feel that you're going to be compromised in some way by doing it. So I think that is good advice. One more thing to cover off on, which is I'd forgotten to mention it, the tongue tie on the favourite in the Blue Diamond. What do you make of that, Aaron?
I haven't been able to find the reason why. I was Googling earlier before. I might have to make some phone calls about that one. But yeah, it did jump out. Do you know, Gord?
I'm completely confused, mate.
I don't understand it.
When you're that bloody dominant,
yeah.
Why would you mess with the gear? Like,
it does seem something that requires some explanation.
Well, maybe you could look at it as a positive. Imagine if it had breathing issues. How good could it be?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is the Melbourne preview. So don't forget that this is a critical mounting yard day. So you'll get the yard from your Melbourne Pro, and you'll also get prices, suggested bets, and a staking plan from your Melbourne Pro. And the way to get that is to subscribe to the service. And as I say, members get a discount, a decent discount actually, which is more than half their weekly membership. So get on board. Click that I in the top right-hand corner. Thanks to Gord, who is resident, everywhere, and Aaron, who's our resident Melbourne Pro. But I think we've got a worldwide service these days.
Yeah, I know. We're even throwing in Hong Kong stuff as well. Oh, Jesus, I've been loving betting in Hong Kong. Oh, it's been so good lately. Just so exciting.
Well, it's twice a week, every week for most of the year. So if you do like Hong Kong, there's stuff to get around here, and we'll look after you there as well. But thanks, Aaron, and good luck on Saturday. Same to you, Gord.
Good luck,
Good
guys.
luck, guys.